How do I structure my IT documentation? This is a really hard topic, even for 45 minutes or even 30 minutes. So what I can tell you today is something like best practices. And the background is that we are heavily working on getting standards for our customers. So we are working on templates, pre-structuring of knowledge bases and things like that. And what we are now collecting best practices, and we try to help you and help your clients just to start to get things done and make it easy to start. That's the target. That's the task we have to tackle. Are there best practices? Yes, of course, there are some. And my approach is it's more get structures, make it easy. There are different approaches in how you can organize your documentation. There is also, we have a strong faction here in at Hallo Welt to say, okay, I only follow the me first strategy. Don't bother with structures. I just want to start with writing things down. That's also, yes, I don't exclude that. But what I want to do is, if you are starting a new uh, instance, a new wiki instance, and you have already some ideas, it's not necessary that you can reinvent the wheel. And what I want to show you is you can keep it easy. There are several steps you have to follow. The first steps is you have something to do. You have a use case. And I know IT documentation is everything. People are coming to us and say, I need something with software documentation. We have processes, we have installations, we need something for partners and for customers, and we need something for internal and external, and plenty of things. Everything is right and everything is somehow possible. And that makes it a bit complicated. And people are looking at their project and say, how can we address all those different use cases, which I have now listed here. Classical things: online help, FAQs, process management, manuals, stuff like that. Start with it and say, okay, what is my use case? Or even what are two use cases? But my recommendation is start with one. Don't think about how your knowledge base or your documentation tool will develop in the next 5 or 10 years. How many other departments have to be involved? Yes, you need them, but you need not all of them. It's necessary just to start with the most interesting or most needed thing. That is where you have already some content and where you have the people who need it and people who can share the knowledge. This is exactly where you start. And the others, just let it grow. That's the wiki way. Let it grow. We can already pre-structure and think into the future, but one use case is enough, or two, maybe two, but nothing more. And I want to demonstrate this with a simple example that comes from a customer project. Why did I choose it? It's about Cargo Support. Cargo Support is a software manufacturer for enterprise software in Germany. And they are setting up a public documentation about their product for users, for customers, for partners. And we will have a look at this now, but it's in German, but I think it's not in English yet, but maybe I can show you just what is about. Okay. I know. Sorry. Ha ha ha. That was exactly what I tried to avoid. No. Should share now the screen. Right. Okay. Sorry, now I have it. So that what you see is just a public documentation of a software, which is an enterprise software, as I said, and it's a complex thing. You have to deal with modules. You have other several parts. You have different versions of the software. It's about today. It's a German documentation, but most probably you also will need an English edition in the future. You have release documentation, and you have plenty of basic and background information. And all what the people need is something where the users can easily find the topics and browse through the documentation. So we need something with improving the search or help the search to find the requested pages, and you need a basic navigation structure, which is quite easy here. We have the basic modules, we have additional modules, and you can go, for instance, to this certain module here. And this is the next step. You can browse into the module and you get the information about how you order, how you get, how you organize your returns, your invoices, and things you need to know, because it's a logistic supporting software. And that's like a portal here. And you see, we have already on the left side, you have some basic navigation. You can go through the different topics on the left side. So, but as you see, it's kept very simple. And if you go deeper to order, for instance, there is the real. We come now to another like a stage of information. You see, you have more information, more in-depth information. So that's the basic idea, is that you can browse to and go deeper and deeper into the topics, into the fields. Now, okay, if you go, for instance, to Hapag-Lloyd, there is now the real description. This is what most people are looking for. How can I configure the software? How can I use it? What are the different fields for, and stuff like that. I just wanted to show this a bit because that you know what we're talking about. It should have a look nice so that people find and are happy to read the documentation, and it should not be look too complicated. So, and with that requirements, okay, now with that background, how did we did this, or how can you approach to get a structure into that? Now I have to come back to the documentation. Yeah. We have a use case already. And this use case says, okay, we need an external documentation platform with some additional requirements. Maybe you have some internal stuff, which I don't want to share with everybody, but it's internal for the company or for the admin teams, for instance. But after that, we need to know what are the key points of our documentation. When I talk about key points, it's exactly what I have on this slide. We have, first of all, and I think a most interesting point to talk about is what sort of documents do I have? What sort of document types? You see, we have here, for example, software descriptions. Maybe we have internal minutes, maybe we have checklists, maybe we have planning documents, maybe we have, but also maybe there are some portal pages needed, or there are it's not only software descriptions, there we get introductions into a certain field, like, okay, there is something we talk about container, what is container meant, or what different meanings of container do we have, and how do we address this? So one thing you should talk about, think about and consider is, what document types do I have, and make a list of this. The second thing you should think about and discuss internally is, what topics group do I have? I have external teams or external users, but I have maybe also teams. Internally, you have different teams. You have an engineering team, or you have the DevOps, or you have the product, the product management, or project management, or even sales and marketing are teams. So, or you have different projects. So who is using this? Can I make groups out of that, or do I have already some groups? Who are they? Third thing you have to talk about is, do we have access permissions or restrictions? Are there some document types that people don't have to see? Or are there certain groups who have not access to other topics? Keep this as flat as possible. Don't talk too much about access permissions, but you talk only about to define what is really needed when I do a really need restrictions. And as I said, keep it as flat as possible. But that's part of your consideration if you need some structure here. So IT documentation has a specific problem in the documentation. It's about different versions and releases of software. The same goes for any technical documentation. You have always different versions of your product. It doesn't depend what sort of product you have. You have always new editions, stuff like that. So your structures should also think, what versions, how do we deal with versions and different releases, and how can users find exactly the releases and the release information, because the release information is mostly just interesting for a period of time. It's interesting for a few weeks, a few months, maybe 1 year. That's it. After that time, you're not really interested in the releases years ago, right? And so how can we address this? The fifth dimension is, okay, we have a systems. What do that means? Sometimes I had to approve pages. Say, okay, we work on a draft version and then we have to approve it. I need a system that works exactly that way, or I need reading confirmation, or I need some sort of a workflow. That is what we define here internally as assistant systems. That helps you to assure the quality of your pages. Do we need them? And the same as the access permissions topic, keep it as simple as possible. Don't make it too complicated, because you want that people write information down and find it. And so every additional assistance system or access restriction makes it complicated to keep things updated and stuff like that. Supported languages, always a hard question. How many languages do we support? Language is always a huge topic, and you only should make plans for it if you have really a certain amount of, if you have the audience for that, or if you have enough content. If you just provide a few pages in a different language, that's not, you don't have to make a plan for that. That's easily done. But if you have a new market in another country, like say in France, in Italy, in United States, in I don't know, South Korea, wherever, then you should follow the Wikipedia way and set up an instance where you can support the language properly. You can read more about this in our blog about structuring heterogeneous content and about categories, document types, and namespaces. I made some notes in the blog about regarding the knowledge-based structuring, but it's the same. It goes the same way here with documentation, which is, in fact, yeah, you cannot really separate this. And that's the reason why I should have a look at this. So now you have made your definitions, and now you could create a distribution structuring plan, but keep it simple. Everybody knows it's really complicated to set up any sort of technical documentation, and we have seen so many really complex stuff in the last years with plenty of languages, plenty of versions, different status groups. So you can address all those things. But if you start, don't start with complexity. Start with a very simple plan. And for this, you must now see, where do I put my content? And the MediaWiki, or especially BlueSpice, has only a couple of ways to classify your content. You see it on the left side here. You have namespaces, you have sub-wikis, or you can have several wikis. You can use categories, or you can use semantic metadata, additional metadata with semantic MediaWiki. So that are only those four. Helps you with classification. Means, okay, I can put, for instance, minutes in a namespace, or I can put in restricted information into another wiki for a certain audience. And I can tag this information through all those different rooms. Yes, it's like folders. You have different folders. Namespaces and subwikis is more like having folders. And categories and semantic is like tagging, give it some additional information. What are those systems for? We recommend namespaces more and more for document types. Okay, I have reports. That's a document type, most probably something I should put in a namespace. I have training materials. Is something which has a beginning and an end. It's written maybe in a different way. Maybe that's a good reason to put it in a namespace. But there are other reasons to put content in a namespace. One important, or the most important one, is I have access restrictions. In a namespace, I can restrict who can read and who can edit the documents within this namespace. So if you have a topic with access restriction, namespaces is a way to deal with, or additional wikis, sub-wikis. Namespaces are also good to use for topic or product clusters. That's exactly what we have seen at Cargo Support. So we didn't have document types, but we use the namespaces for all the different modules, because then we have a good address. So one module, for instance, is CS Hub. That's a part of the product. And I have now the address CS Hub introduction, CS Hub, getting orders done, things like that. But this is something what you can decide. Assistant systems or access restrictions, document types are really good for namespaces, and the bold ones here is where they are mostly used for, the document types, and that is really good for namespaces. And in our example, we have chosen the not so popular ones, but it was necessary to switch the system around, and we put the software models there and the release notes in namespaces, and we created a space for an internal knowledge base on the basis of namespaces. Subwikis. You have an HR department, and they have internal information, how they deal with payments and stuff like that. You don't really want to share this with anybody. Or you have a security team that has not to share the information with everybody in the team. Okay, go for a subwiki. Then you can really make a secure place where they can work. It's like a wiki for a team, a workspace for teams. Then a subwiki is really great for. In our example, we didn't need this. We made a decision, no, it's not necessary at the moment. Maybe in the future for an internal knowledge base, if we have enough content, we can add another wiki for the company and for an internal knowledge base, but not today. Or even if we have an English edition in the future, also subwiki would be interesting. Categories. In the first step, we recommend you use it for just make a note that this is interesting for certain teams or projects. You can use categories however in the way you want to. And there are strong voices in the room that say, okay, the category system is not really the strength of MediaWiki. I would say in the first weeks, months, years, it can be very, very helpful, but the categories have always that you are always challenged that you get the categories into the page, and mostly they are forgotten, and you can assist your tech writers or whoever is working with that documentation tool, that they don't forget to add some categories. But it's true, categories is not the strongest thing, but if you use it, it's helpful for tagging teams and projects. In this case, in our example with cargo support, we thought it's a good way to support the search. If you have a search string and you get the search results, then it is really helpful to filter the results along namespaces and categories. And on the namespace, okay, is you can just in our example, you have the namespace and say, okay, I look for results within a certain module, or I'm looking for release notes. And maybe it's also interesting for, okay, this is a certain project, or this is a certain group of teams that are working with that software. So that is a second way to structure and to get interesting search results. But for the normal user, they don't really care. They just put something in the search, and mostly they get already the results they looked for. Semantic is really, really great stuff. Detailed metadata for in-depth information. we just decided in our example, we don't need it here, but if you talk about processes and managing pages and quality assurance and have really hard documentations, complex documentation, semantic is the way to go. In this case, we say, okay, in the first step, we don't need this. But in other use cases, it's maybe the way to start with. And okay, I have to rush. Hurry up. You have subpages, books, and left and right, and the left navigation and navigation and the mega menu. Subpages are great. It's more. This is more about navigation, right? And finding information. Support browsing. Subpages are great for nested information. You have a single topic, but it's growing. It's become more and more complex, and it's one page is not enough, but it's still an extension. We have a huge extension like the workflow extension, and we have so many functionalities in there that we can keep this on a single page. Then we need subpages. That's an example for nested information. So that for this they are really great. You can also use it for a simple alphabetical navigation, but we recommend take it for that use case and not for replacing a navigation. Navigation can be done with the book functionality, and in our example you can see this. That's very helpful to browse single topics. Book is great for training materials and manuals, and yeah, and even if you know a navigation that you can define on your way, not alphabetical, but you can make a certain order of pages. You have full control about the order of your navigation. So we have basically the left navigation. Okay, classic link to functions, to the main page, to the recent changes, maybe also to document types, to guidelines. So that's a good place to have it on the left, right? The mega menu is diving deep into topics. In our case, we don't use it, but we have many examples where customers are really happy to have a mega menu to go deep into their field. So all we need in the last minutes is we need some design rules. Very helpful is to have some user journeys. So in our case, we said, okay, you have a main page, you have portals for the modules, and then you come to the function description. So it's a very simple way. It's just a two-step click, but you should think about it up front. That makes it very helpful, and that is especially interesting if you have external users and external documentations. Then you need much more structure and much more design than if you work internally. But then if you have external users, you need user journeys, and that's an easy way to go. For the search optimization, two very simple things that helps you a lot. Provide overview articles or disambiguation pages. What is this? In our case, we have a logistics software, and they're talking about container and the different everything you can imagine about containers, and containers here and container there, and it's on several modules, stuff like that. So we create a central page where we talk about containers. It's like in the Wikipedia, and from there you get the links into the pages and the descriptions you're looking for. Sometimes this is only a page where you just get the links. Yeah, I have an example from Wikipedia here. We say, okay, container disambiguation means, okay, this is like in what direction do you want to go? do you talk about computing, other uses? And then you just find, okay, it's about theory, it's about virtualization, maybe it's a company, whatever. That is very helpful to have such overview pages. And after a time, you cannot avoid to work that way. Second thing, very, very, very helpful to improve your search results is working with redirects. If you have, you don't talk about container, or you're talking, people are searching for container, but you only provide information on a page called Docker, then okay, you make a redirect to this. And the people just will be directed to the page where you have the central information. And they don't have to know the right term. And redirects are really a strong tool. So also title as simple, no special characters, and make it as simple as possible. If you have this container, one is virtualization and one is about Docker, then you can use it. You can use brackets for the title. That's the Wikipedia way. I think that's the best way to go, because you also have to think, if people get a search result, you don't want to see brackets, hashes, or the different special characters. It's hard to read. Make it easy to read for the users. That's the thing. And the same is avoid subpages as much as possible. Subpages are really, really, really helpful. But if it comes for search results, you get long strings. Sometimes we have this already reduced, but it's subpages. I know there are many out there who love subpages, but my recommendation is avoid them as much as possible to guide your people, your users to the real interesting points. So, and then for your structuring, you get a lot of help. We have additional templates for you. For here is an example for software development, for portals, for internal help desk, for team pages. Tomorrow is a talk with Market Link Rodrigue, who will introduce you in the new templates we are providing. They will be free for download, and you can use that. So portals helps you a lot to get some orientation within your knowledge base. And yeah, page templates is the same, and you can enrich all those with search in topics, with input boxes, and some tools that help you and your editors to create new pages, to collect knowledge and pre-structure the knowledge. That's what we're talking about. But this is about templating, and I have to stop now. I talk too much. I thought I can do it in a shorter time, but now that are the things you should consider. Portals and templates are not the first thing you have to start. It's the last one. So that's the situation. Okay, thank you for your attention and patience. You can get all those slides after the conference, of course. And if you have any further questions, just feel free to ask us and to reach out for us.